Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. I am calling from a very, very cold South Africa. It is winter. I hope everyone is warm wherever they are. This is the Doctor of Engineering webinar series, and my name is Tipiso Morabe. I am going to be your host for today's presentation. If you could kindly tell me in the chat box if you're able to hear me loud and clear so that we are able to begin the presentation, please. Thank you so much, Miguel. I really do appreciate that note. Okay, to kick things right off, please take note of the notification and sound slide that is up on your screen. Kindly note you're able to turn off or mute any notifications that might come through during the webinar, and you'll be able to turn them on once we have concluded with the presentation. So some common questions and FAQs. Please note you will receive a video recording as well as a copy of the slides for today's presentation. They'll be mailed to you today or tomorrow by EIT's marketing team, and you will receive them on the email addresses that you used in order to register for today's webinar. Okay, so today's topic is actually going to be the doctoral seminar, Overcoming Writer's Block in Academic Writing, Strategies to Regain Momentum and Confidence. And it is presented to you by Emeritus Professor Akhtar Kalam, and he is an EIT Emeritus Professor. Guys, this webinar is for people who are interested in pursuing a Doctor of Engineering qualification, and this has been a series we've started from the beginning of the year. We've also had this series last year. So this is actually one for the people who want to pursue doctoral studies and they want to know how to go about those studies. So if this is something that you are interested in, you are in the right place to do so. So if you're new here, let me just go over about who the Engineering Institute of Technology is. We are an engineering specialist and we offer engineering programs from a professional certificate to a Doctor of Engineering, which is why we are all here today. And we offer industry-oriented programs. We look at trends in the industry and we actually make courses that are suited to those trends and the directions that the engineering industry is going into. We offer world-class accredited Australian qualifications, meaning that we are recognized by the Australian government, not only recognized but accredited. And some of our programs actually have international recognition, that being some courses under the Dublin Accord for the Advanced Diploma, Sydney Accord for the bachelor's programs, and then lastly, the master's program under the Washington Accord. We have industry experienced lecturers such as Professor Kalam himself. These are people who know the industry well and are now imparting the knowledge onto the students that we have at the institution. And lastly, we deliver a unique delivery module, so meaning that you can study your programs 100% online, regardless of where you are situated in the world. But if you are interested in studying on campus, you can do so at one of our 3 campuses, either in Perth, Melbourne, or in Brisbane, Australia. Okay, so today's host, as I've mentioned, or presenter rather, is Emeritus Professor Akhtar Kalam. He will be going through the presentation. If you have any questions, please make me aware of these, and then I'll give you rights in order to speak to the professor live on this session, and then he'll answer any questions you might have. Any questions you have relating to the DEng program or EIT, please be sure to leave them in the chat box. We will be happy to assist you with those questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This is it for me for this portion of the webinar. However, I leave you in the capable hands of Professor Kalam. He will be the one doing the presentation today. Thank you so much, Professor Kalam. You can take control of the screen and then please make sure to hide the presenter view for yourself so that you're able to magnify your screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pisho. Can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear, sir.
And now my microphone is working. I just wanted you to understand. You can see I've got the speaker on.
I
So
do
that
see
makes it
that.
much, yeah. Thank you very much. I'm taking control.
Yes, please.
Okay, I have taken control and I'm moving forward, right?
Sure.
This one is a very interesting topic. And this topic is such that if you think you will be the only person having writer's block, believe me, many times I have this block too. So it's not only you, everyone who writes has this particular issue, which is purely an issue that has been created of psychological reason or some reason I don't know much about. It's a barrier which is there in us. So uh, so that's my agenda today. And first, I want to introduce what is this writer's block. And as I told you right in the beginning, if you think writer's block is only because of you, if you think it is about laziness, if you think it is about your tardiness, if you think it is about your stress level, I think it is none of that. It is purely a psychological barrier. And if you can understand this, it will help you normalize and you can move towards resolution. So that's what we are trying to do. I'm trying to make sure that you understand this so you never have this problem again. And that's why this seminar is very important for anyone who wants to write, not only DEng student. DEng student naturally has to write a very big piece of work, original work and all that type. But anyone who wants to write, even if you want to write a novel, say for argument's sake, you will have the same issue. So what it is, if you are unable to start or continue writing. That's it. Your inability to start or continue writing. Often you have this because of some anxiety, some stress level, some procrastination, or self-doubt. And this is very, very common with all students, researchers, and professionals. And I don't know how long I've been writing for, but I can tell you right now, I also have writer's block. Even now, in this age, after writing more than 600 publications and everything, I have this block every time. So I cannot stress how important this is. So this happens, okay? Let's take it for granted. The The writer's block tends to occur when you are starting to compose a piece of writing, but just starting in the starting phase. If you are reaching some transition point in the phase, if you're going from one chapter to the other, or when you're returning to the piece after a break, that is a very important thing that you should remember. Say, for argument's sake, when you're writing and you go for a month holiday or something like that, believe me, that is a very big break. And to get back into normal action, you'll have to get your joint together. And that's a difficult one. Remember that. I'm not saying don't have breaks, but maybe don't have too long a break, because to come back to normal state is very difficult. Or when you're trying to finish or polish the piece that you have written, that's an interesting stage. At the end stage, you have finished everything and you're just trying to brush it out and find it. You know something? I want to share this with you. It's very hard to find my own mistake. I find it. I find it very difficult. I read the same document number of times and I still cannot find my own mistake. But if I give it to you, my writing, believe me, in 20 seconds you'll find it. That's the difference. So it's always good to give it to others to read your piece, because sometimes you miss it out. So now I want to tell you something interesting. And that is, what are the common causes? What is the common cause of this? And as I told you, this common cause is there, but the experience of everyone is different. Identifying the cause of your block is the first step towards breaking through it. If you do not know what it is it a nerves? Is it your circular thoughts? Is it insomnia? Is it trauma? Is it anxiety exercise? Is it social anxiety? It is anxiety medication? Is it phobias? I don't know what it is. So these are the common causes, and the common causes is sometimes is your own thought, because there is many people who want to become a perfectionist. There was one student who was doing this doctorate program in my university, not my student, but one of the students who was doing the doctorate program in my university itself. And you'd be surprised that he took 6 years to write the thesis. I mean, the DEng program is a bit different. This was a PhD program, and he took 6 years to write it. I could not understand it. But believe me, he was such a perfectionist. He did not have a single correction in his thesis, but it took 6 years, my friend. I can't afford that type of 6 years. That's why I say that you have to be practical about this and make sure that you don't go through that phase at all. So
Professor
don't try to
Kalam,
become a, yes,
apologies for interrupting you. I think there might be a glitch. Please move on to the next slide so that the participants are able to see this one. I think there might have been an issue with the There is your slide. There we go.
okay,
No problem.
sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there might be something. I don't know what that is, but there's something going wrong.
Thank you.
Okay. So it might be, thank you very much for pointing it out, Shipashu.
No
So
problem, Prof.
this student wanted to be a perfectionist. And believe me, he was. But it took him 6 years to write the thesis. And you don't want that type of situation. DEng, I'll never allow my student to do that. Now, sometimes you have insufficient information, and this could cause a writer's block. Sometimes it could be due to, these challenges that you have is unique to everyone. And sometimes you want to contribute original work, and when you're trying to you will have mental blocks at that time. So therefore, there's a fear of failure. That fear creates anxiety. That anxiety creates a writer's block. Sometimes you might have insufficient formulation of ideas. Sometimes it might be lack of motivation or clarity. Sometimes it could be moral or emotional or other conflicts about the writing task. Sometimes it could just be burnt out or fatigue. Sometimes it could be intimidation by the size of the writing project. Just looking at it, that you're going to write 200 pages of something, that gives you that fear. Sometimes you think the task is too complex and you want to give it up. That is the worst situation that you could be in. Sometimes it is a fear that what I have written will be poorly received by the examiners, because you're trying to convince the examiner of the work that you're doing. Sometimes that fear is there, my friends, and there's nothing I can do about that, because that's what it is. Because all our experiences are different, but to identify the cause of your block is the first thing that we have to do to make sure that I can conquer these challenges and produce product which will be good as well as acceptable. Now, what are the challenges? I kept on talking about challenges, my friends, and you have to see what are the challenges. Sometimes you get pressure from your supervisor. You get deadlines coming, deadlines. Okay, and that gives you anxiety too. And the supervisor is not understanding your situation. Okay. So if you can recognize the signs early, it allows you to intervene before the block becomes chronic. So that is where you want to have early intervention. You nip it on the bud, my friend. You sometimes you want to get a very high standard and you're critical about your own product, and therefore that self-judgment becomes an issue. Sometimes just the structuring part, you've got all the ideas in your head, how to structure it, which chapter it should go, where should that go. That becomes the challenge. And the worst challenge is when you're not getting any feedback or guidance. And this is one of the things that you have issues with, and I should not be saying this, but I will, just to make it clear to you. Sometimes it is lack of experience of the supervisor, that they do not know. They themselves are a very is a novice, in the area, and they do not know what sort of guidance they can give. A good supervisor is an experienced supervisor. Therefore, in our DEng program, the dean of our Engineering Institute of Technology has made sure that, given commitment to our quality standard agency, that only very experienced supervisors will be chosen to guide students. And the reason why he has mentioned that, and that is part of our basically philosophy of EIT, is to make sure that the students get appropriate guidance. So you remember I mentioned before that the time period is very small. We want to make sure that 3 years we finish it. We don't want to go for 10 years or something like that. We never had that intention. Therefore, you must get very clear, precise, accurate information and accurate feedback. So, in fact, if you are seeing or experiencing writing, sometimes, I mean, you see, and you see, you're staring at a blank screen for a long period. You're rewriting the same sentence over and over again. Sometimes you get so scared you don't want to write anything. Sometimes there's distraction, and that could be an issue. So these are the signs that you are having a writer's block. So, in fact, if that is a situation, what should we do? And what is the strategy we have that we can overcome these challenges that I'm talking to you about? And I'll give you some strategies. The first strategy I want to give is free writing. Very interesting concept of mine. You just write something without stopping for 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe rubbish, maybe grammatically wrong, maybe structurally wrong, maybe logically wrong, but write it. And believe me, if you have generated this raw content, although it is not perfect, it will give you a start. And that is what is the important thing. So start doing the free writing part. If you can do that, you'll find, although it might not be perfect, as I mentioned, but it'll overcome that problem. Okay, the second strategy. The second strategy of mine is to break the task into chunks. And that's what I call, and I mentioned that in one of my presentation in the past, the Pomodoro technique, which means you choose a task, you set 25 minutes timer, you process a task, you enjoy 5 minutes break and repeat 4 times, and you will find that you can take a bit of larger break because you've done the job. So if you can divide your writing into small chunks, which are manageable, it's much more better. That's what is the Pomodoro technique. If you can focus on writing one paragraph or a one section or even a sentence at a time, it's a great victory, my friends. And as I told you, use this technique, the Pomodoro technique that I have mentioned to you. That that 5 step that I've made. Choose a task, choose a 25-minute timer, function your task, enjoy 5 minutes break, and if you can repeat this 4 times, you can have a longer break. So this is really very good because in fact, okay, it can overwhelm feed writer's block, and small things wins and builds momentum and confidence in you. The third strategy that I have, the third strategy that I have is have a clear structure. Okay. First, you have intro. I like the word intro. It sounds much better than introduction. And you young people like to have this short form of everything. So I'll use your language, intro. Have that intro. Okay. Then you have that body and you have conclusion. So you have a structure in place. I always like to use initially with bullet points or headings, and then I can make it in narrative style later on. And it will help me to visualize the progress and flow. So in fact, if I can outline this in that 3 section, my ambiguity is reduced. And therefore, you know that you're not starting from scratch each time you sit down. So you've got this in mind: introduction, body, conclusion, introduction, body, conclusion. My fourth strategy that I have is mindset shifts. And this is important that you realize this mindset shifts, because this it's important that you think about this carefully, because it will change your habit of how we think about writing and how we do it, how the changes we'll do it. So nothing wrong. You don't have to get the first draft perfect. Make it imperfect, no worries. I can always correct it. So have an imperfection, make an attempt, get your first draft, and treat your writing as thinking, not as a final product. This is your thought. You got it in paper. You can make it perfect or near perfect in subsequent drafts. Remember this affirmation. It is better to have progress than having perfect product. So progress over perfection is a better strategy than waiting to make it perfect in the first go. And students have this habit. They want to finish everything very quickly. This is the 21st century, mate. We want to finish everything very quickly. No. Okay. It's better to have a few drafts done before you come to a perfect stage or near perfect state. Then you put a near perfect stage. My fifth strategy, my friends, my fifth strategy is using writing tools and support. Now, remember, my friends, I want to make it clear that you understand this, that if you think you are the one who is writing alone, right? Okay, and this is what you have to do because you are doing the DEng study. It's your work, right? Uh, get help from tools, man. Then what's the problem? Get help from tools. There are tools available. There is Grammarly for grammar check. There's Scribner. This is a software which is becoming very popular with academics. It helps organize long pieces of writing. It's affordable, cross-platform, and can be installed on multiple computers at the same time. So there's a generous 30 opens, free trials also. So Scribner is there. Zotero is there. That's another one. This is a free powerful, easy to use research tool that helps you gather, organize, and analyze citations and source such as PDFs and websites, and then share the results of your research. So there's AI assistance. All these things are there. But be very careful of one thing. Don't do cut and paste job. Remember, I'm repeating this. Don't do cut and paste job, because every thesis that goes out has to be checked for similarity level, or what we call it in normal language, plagiarism level. Turnitin will catch you for the similarity level, and if you can get over that, the next thing will be Gen AI level. You will find your piece of document, say, having a similarity level of 15%, which is acceptable. But then when you look at Gen AI, it catches you with 95%, and no way on the earth your institution will allow that thesis to go outside, because of that means you have just that current pace job. That is not allowed. And remember, none of these AI tools are perfect. There are always some mistakes here and there. And every thesis that gets out, especially in Australia, we make sure that we have checked it out. Even because I'm editor chief of Australian Journal of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, I can tell you, even my journal, okay, it goes to thematic. So every piece of writing nowadays has become a compulsion thing. So you can't do cut and paste job. There's nothing wrong with using these things as a help tool rather than doing a cut and paste job. Avoid that, please. If you if you can, join writing groups. I mean, you can seek peer reviews. The best is if you've got colleagues who working. It's always good to find colleagues working. Now, at EIT, because you might be situated in one part of the world, and if I'm another DEng student situated in Melbourne, we can always talk. Nowadays, you've got Zoom, you've got all sorts of Google Meet, you've got these Teams as we are doing today. You can easily communicate with each other. As a matter of fact, if I was a PhD student or a DEng student, I would formulate a small group amongst ourselves so that we can communicate with each other. The more you can talk to your peer groups, the more help you can get. And make an appointment. That appointment is so important because it'll give you accountability. You give a time, say in 10 days' time, I'll finish the introduction. So you've got an appointment with someone to finish the introduction in 10 days' time. And that's where you got accountability. Sometimes these things sound tough, but it's very easy. Now, some of the tips that you can do to overcome these writer's block. And as I told you, I've given you 5 strategies, right? Now, some of the tips. And I'll give you, I think, about 10 tips. The first tip I want to give you, okay, and that is important that you realize, is there are so many distractions in this world. The biggest distraction that I have is a mobile phone. The biggest distraction that I have is iPad. The biggest distraction that I have is YouTube. The biggest distraction as I have is Facebook. I can name on and on and on. Get rid of them. Get rid of them because they are a big distraction. And you find that you are sometime you're running from one app to the other. You're going from Twitter to Instagram. You're looking at Snapchat. You keep on doing all this over and over again. Delete the apps. Consume most of your time and consider turning off your phone altogether. Very hard thing. I can't do it myself. I'm telling you, I'm the biggest criminal. I find it very difficult to get rid of this stupid thing that I have, this phone that I have. I can't get rid of this phone. It's always it looks like this is part of my body. I can't get rid of that. But if you want to do serious work, turn off that phone completely. It's not only shut it off, I said turn it off completely. Now, distractions can be anything. I talked about social media, but it also could be messy workplace. Do what you can to avoid such distraction, especially when you want to, especially when you want to do work. If you want to do work, my friends, get rid of these distractions. If distractions are people you live with, such as family or friends, sometimes you can't do anything about it. You know, they are part of your family. You have to live with them. I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm not saying divorce from them. Nothing of that sort. Don't get me wrong, my friend. Okay? Please don't get rid of them. I don't want you to get rid of your family and friends. But try to study at times when you cannot be distracted. And I used to do that because I came from a very large family. And my habit was to start when everyone was sleeping at 10 p.m. in the night up to 4:30 in the morning. That's the best time. You don't have to do that. But I'm just saying that is one of the options I had because I came from a large family. And that's why I've written that. That was a great distraction during daytime, especially the young kids. And I used to love my nieces and nephews. But in the same token, they were a big distraction for me. So, as I said, don't get rid of them. Just try and change your timings. Okay, my second tip that I wanted to make, my second tip, and if you find that everything is becoming overwhelming, and you know, and I don't know how to tell you this, but you know, there are ways. You can find ways. Believe me, you can find ways better than mine. But these are just my few suggestions. And if it is becoming, your thoughts are becoming overwhelming, okay, find the best outlet to release them. Writing is often my go-to as I am an avid writer, as I usually write about how I'm feeling. And you'd be surprised. Many times, even now in this age of mine, I get up in the night time, all of a sudden I get a bright idea. And I always get bright ideas between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I write it down, lest I forget in the morning. So you can have other outlets. Other people can get outlets like singing, some can do drawing, some could do speaking out loud. But remember, you can't speak out loud in public spaces and speaking to close families or friends. So you can get this, you can sort this out. My third tip that I wanted to make was take breaks, man. Nothing wrong. Take a break, take a walk around the campus, walk around your block, do some break, go to the coffee shop. Instead of driving your car, go walking, and you'll find that a very good exercise, as well as it will break the monotony. Sometimes you feel that, am I wasting time? I'm not, I don't think so. Sometimes we waste time being unproductive by lamenting on how unproductive we have become. If you still have sufficient time before an upcoming deadline and you're struggling to make progress, take an intentional break. There's nothing wrong with that. As I told you, go for a coffee shop. Go in and take a break. It is better to take a break for a few hours or even a day or two and return refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to tackle the task ahead. I mean, again, I can only talk about myself. I used to go to a movie. I used to love reading. I used to just break it and go to a cinema house and sit down. Yes, it used to cost me $7, but still, it was it was worth that thing. Other people can have other ideas. Go to a footy match, go to a cricket match, whatever you want to do. But take a break, my friend, and you'll find once you go back, you're all. But remember, as I told you earlier, don't take a very long break because to come back to normal state might take you a very big, it might be a steep jump. In your break, spend time doing things that allow you to relax. Don't think about the problem you have. Just relax. As I told you, I used to go to movies and watch the movies, especially if Clint Eastwood was there, it's a cowboy movie, and I used to love those type of things. Some people like comedies, go to Laurel and Hardy movie or something like that, Charlie Chaplin's movie. Take a bit of break, relax, laugh, and many people prefer to go on walk, and that is the best exercise, I think. Get out of your space, get some fresh air. You find you are completely rejuvenated. It's magic formula. Now, my next point that I wanted to make is to make sure that you understand my fourth tip. Do it, my friends. Write. Remember, even if your writing is all over the place and unrefined, this is not the final piece. I told you, write something. So if you're someone who is a perfectionist like I was, let that all go at that initial stage and get the flow into writing. When proofreading and revising your work, you will find perfectionism will automatically come. Okay, my fifth tip. Look for a documentary on the subject you're writing on. Sometimes, when I don't feel like writing or reading, I watch. I'm currently doing, say, for argument, dissertation on human trafficking. I hear about this. And I must say that YouTube is a great resource. I also found a few films on Netflix which broaden my knowledge in that subject area. So, look, I've got two sources, the YouTube and Netflix, that has given me broader horizon. As with other information, if you plan to use information from a documentary, be sure to verify the validity of the source. There are many platforms which is scam too. But remember this thing, there is a time and place for this step. If you only have a few days until a big deadline, please skip this. Don't watch documentary and YouTube, etc. Okay, now my next step is the sixth one. Go for achievable goals. As I mentioned before, break down what you need to do into manageable steps and monitor your progress. Sometimes planning a day before going to bed or for the week ahead on a Sunday evening can be helpful. So when you want to work, you know exactly what you should be working on. My seventh tip, okay, and I always like doing this, write pointers, man. Question yourself. For instance, for the introduction of a dissertation, when planning it, you can initially start by asking yourself questions about the information that would be expected in your dissertation about your topic. Some question is that, I mean, again, I'm using the word human trafficking. What is human trafficking? What are the key stats and figures? Why is the essential to international development? Question it, man. You get the draft by writing these prompts. It'll help you. I always had this, and I tell my research student, okay, can you first write what are the research questions? So I want them to write 5 questions. I remember in one of my students who was doing code generation work, I asked them, what will be the impact of this? Tell me. And that student wrote about 10 questions. And the whole thesis was based on those 10 questions. Date. Sometimes for those people who use this type, I have not used it, but the dictation type voice is very useful. And you don't have to buy these. You can get these in Google Docs and Microsoft Word. And especially when you're struggling to write, I found this, and there's a column called Speak, and you will find that in Google Docs and Microsoft Word. Sometimes it's much easier to dictate your thoughts rather than writing it down. Voice dictation Typing may not always be accurate, but you can always edit when it has been written. If you want to use this feature, I recommend watching a YouTube guide that will show you how to use it properly. I must tell you that I have not used this. My ninth one that I wanted to mention, as I mentioned right in the beginning, speak to friends, have a colleagues, have people around you. If not, use Zoom, use Google Meet, use Microsoft Team, but get that. Share your challenges with them, and they may be able to offer you very valuable advice. Because remember, everyone has their own unique experience. I obtained some of my trips. Even now, when I talk and have conversations with friends and colleagues and other academic staff, I get a lot of tips coming out of that. My 10th one is get an accountability partner, someone whom you trust. It could be a course mate. I prefer someone who is outside my study area. It could be a family member, doesn't have to be someone expert in your research area. Your research area is unique to you. But essentially, you set goals, share with them, and then report back to them on your progress. This can be done on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, depending on the deadline and your personal preferences. It helps if they're also working towards something so they can be accountable to you. If there's a two-way traffic, then you don't feel obliged that the other guy is being pestered because of me. Then it's much better you share your experience and he or she shares their experience. So these 10 tips may be helpful. And even if you haven't experienced writer's block, perhaps you can share this with a friend who has. And please note, please note that this is not an extensive list. There are several more ways to overcome academic writer's block. I have given you some of my experiences with what I've heard of others also. I've added them together. There could be something that you might have, other things also. Okay. Now, after that, I want to talk about ideas. How do you formulate ideas? So, if you are gathering information, as I told you, jot it down because you can't forget somehow or the other. I can again, your minds are much sharper than mine. Okay, I keep on forgetting things, so I write it down in a piece of paper, scribble it somewhere, so that you can get it out later on. Point it out, possible wording, few words here and there. Then draw it on this bank of ideas that you might have had at 2 o'clock in the morning. Become familiar with the material and then turn your attention elsewhere. The ideas may come to mind. Put yourself under deadline pressure if you work best under that kind of pressure. Then brainstorm or jot down ideas in a concept map. Then you prepare the outline. Use whatever aids you have got, which will help you in organizing. In my time, we always used to use index cards. Nowadays, with laptops and all, you may not need it, but I used to use index card. You can use highlighters. You can use outlining programs, right? Write initially in the form you're most comfortable with. Don't be so pedantic about the type and the writing style and the language and the grammar. Don't worry, just scribble something. Write initially in the form you're most comfortable with. Example, a letter, a memo, a popular article, email message. Email messages, the spellings are all wrong. I know that. For you, instead of writing YOU, you write you, the letter which starts for umbrella, you. Message, instead of say message, you say MSG, or something like that. But discuss it loud in person or on a voice recorder. Overcoming intimidation. Realize that you are writing to communicate, not to have your writing judged. Remember, you need to be a good writer, just a good rewriter. Breaking a writing tool task that you have into manageable pieces. Start with whatever part of the writing you have that you find it easiest. Be satisfied with mere excellence. Maintain a momentum, my friends. Avoid getting bogged down searching for missing information. Put in a placeholder, for example, I always find this useful. Insert a number and keep going. If you must stop while writing something, don't go at it as a logical stopping place. Don't wait for the chapter to finish. Just stop. If you're interrupted before responding, write down some phrases to help you resume your traffic of thought when you get the time. The sundries, the extra bit. Set aside specific times to write. Also find a place where you can write without distraction. If constantly people are coming and distracting you, your train of thought will be disturbed. Just start writing, my friend. One approach is set a timer for 15 minutes and let ideas pour out without editing. Just write it down. Try turning down the contrast on your computer screen. If appropriate, modify the writing task. If all fail, bribe yourself. Go for a cup of coffee. So what is causing this blockage, my friends? What is causing this blockage? And this writer's block that I have is because of that temporary mental blank. I can't get started. There are too many interruptions or distraction. Amount of data is overwhelming. I'm getting scared. I've lost interest in the topic. I've got confidence is not there. I don't have the confidence to do the writing. That's what is stopping you. Okay. Temperamental block is not a very difficult thing. Exercise. Just go for a walk. Work on the bibliography or formatting. Forget about the main thesis. Do the bibliography. Laugh at the process. Make fun of the thesis. Make fun of anyone you like to. I wanted to use a make fun of your supervisor. Don't do that, please. Draw a comic strip version, cut it into pieces and tape it into the wall. Write what you are stuck and dress up. Getting started. You remember I told you have a blank screen. Now you cover the blank screen. End mid-thought. Free ride. Set a realistic goal. How many pages, Sometimes you get overwhelming. Don't think too much. I have to write 300 pages. I argue that. Write a letter to your mother. Do something, There are too many distractions I have. Okay. Make writing the first thing you do. Early in the morning. For me, I was a night person all my life. So I used to do it late in the night. Write for 45 minutes. Rest for 15 minutes after that. Break the task down into parts. That Pomodoro technique that I told you. Okay. Have internet freedom. Too much data you have got. Tell a story, my friends. Organize your scheme. A, B, C, D, E, chronological order, case studies, types, previous theories were wrong, a new way of thinking. Reduce all the variables. Look for the paradox. If you have lost interest, go to the proposal. Look at the early articles that excited you to that work. Give a guest lecture on the topic. This is very good. I always found that to be very useful. If I give one or two lectures on that topic, I always find that I learn more. Even when I'm learning a new subject, I find if I can teach that subject, I learn more about that subject. Email some of the authors you have built on. Present at a conference. Conference is a great place to build your confidence. Lack confidence? I've told you, join a writing group. Look at finished product. Play the so what game. So what? Start at the easiest part. Keep a writing log. Note the successes. Write a letter in response to criticism. My final thoughts. Okay, my friends, maintain the momentum. You have created the momentum. Okay, maintain it. Write every day, my friend. I, even if you write small bits every day, you will get the hang of it. Keep a notebook. Write at time when you are most productive. Remember, my friends, okay, there are a lot of tools available. Some of the tools which are there is Zotero. This is a free, powerful, easy to use research tool that helps you gather, organize, and analyze citations and sources such as PDF and website, and then share the results of your research. RefWork. RefWork helps you organize the references and files you collect while doing research. With the software add in right and cite, you can import references straight from the RefWork account into your Microsoft Word account. I always like my students to use EndNote. EndNote is a powerful reference management tool that helps you save time, stay organized, and collaborate effectively as you write and publish research papers. Trusted by thousands of academic and industry researchers worldwide, EndNote helps protect the integrity of your research with built-in tools that support quality and accuracy while providing more dedicated support than any other reference management tools available. So there are tools available. Zotero, RefWork, as I mentioned, EndNote 2025 is a great one. There's a new version. This is the latest version that I'm talking about. Celebrate successes. Don't take criticism too personally. You don't know how many times I'm criticized by friends. So don't take that personally. Look at what someone has said, and this is very soothing to me. This was said by someone called Chuck Close. If you wait for clouds to part and be struck with a bolt of lightning, you're likely to be waiting the rest of your life. But if you get going, something will occur to you. Again, I repeat, if you wait for clouds to part and be struck with a bolt of lightning, you're likely to be waiting the rest of your life. But if you get going, something will occur to you. That was said by Chuck Close. So I believe that you have to have a self-care. You have to have productivity habits because a tired brain is a blocked brain. Mental and physical self-care is part of academic productivity. Therefore, remember, go and get your normal sleep and exercise. Take meaningful breaks. Change your writing locations occasionally and celebrate your small achievements. Even if it's small, celebrate it. Right, my friends? Okay. And my last thing I wanted to mention was that uh, remember, my friends, uh, that every great thesis, paper, or book started with a messy first draft. You don't know how mess my drafts are. Let us open the floor to your questions and insight. But remember, writer's block is normal. Don't worry about it. And only good thing is that this is not going to be a permanent feature in your life. It's just a temporary phase. And this can be solved. I've given you some strategies that, and you don't have to use all of them, some that will suit your style. Keep writing. Doesn't make any difference if you're imperfect in first place, but persist on it and you will get it right. And I can tell you right now, my friends, that, you know, every thesis, paper, book started with a messy first draft. So don't get scared. I now open the floor for question and answers and any insight. Thank you very much, Shipeshu. I have finished my presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor Kalam. I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation as it is, and you're actually right on time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions regarding today's topic, please note them down in the chat box, and I'll be able to have you have you actually have presenter rights, and then you can speak to Professor Kalam, and he will be able to answer the questions relating to today's topic or any other Doctor of Engineering questions you might have. While you are doing that, please take note of the dates for our Doctor of Engineering program. The on-campus has actually begun on the 4th of August. So our on-campus DEng students have started with their studies. And then the next intake for the online will be on the 16th of February 2026. Yes, we already have dates for 2026. We move quickly around here. So if you are interested in actually enrolling for the 2026 program, please do so well in time. Decide whether you want to study online or on campus, noting that you can absolutely do both, either study online or on campus. But I'm going to leave all the details that you might need regarding enrolling at EIT in the chat box, should you have any further questions for us. Okay, these are upcoming Doctor of Engineering webinar topics. We have the next one on September 4th, Ethics and Integrity in Research. So you can go ahead and register for that as well. We will have the final one on the 4th of December when we close off the year, as well as the topics for this year. Okay, I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes again so that you guys can actually see if you have any questions for Professor Kalam. If not, yeah, then we will close off the session. Please note you can complete the survey that is up on your screen in order to leave us feedbacks. Please note this is not a survey for the certificate of attendance, because as this is an info webinar, we do not provide certificates of attendance for our info webinars. However, we do have a virtual open week coming in the second week of September, actually, and you will be able to actually register for that. I'm going to leave all relevant links in the chat box. Bosisiwe, I see you've raised your hand. You have a question. Could you please tell me, let me just give you presenter rights, and then you can ask your question live during the session, and hopefully Professor Kalam will be able to answer. Hi, Bosisiwe, how are you?
He's muted, Shipushu.
I have actually unmuted. Specifically, I do believe you're muted. I've unmuted you, so you can use your mic should you wish to ask Professor Kalam a question regarding to today's topic. Okay, I'm just going to guess that it might have been an issue. A mistake that she's put up her hand. If not, please feel free to leave it in the chat box, and then I for sure will have the professor answer the questions that you might have, and even if it's after the webinar has concluded, for sure. Um, so please note the question in the chat box, or you
Yeah.
can then.
The question is there. Sibu has asked a very interesting question. It's a question in my area, so I'd love to answer
Yes, I
that.
see
If
that, Professor Kalam.
so, Sibu, DEng could be in any area. Renewable energy is my area, so I welcome anyone to come and do it. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work not only in renewable energy, but recently two of my PhD students are working on hydrogen technology. So one of them has just graduated. So yes, Cebu, we have got a lot of people working in renewable energy area. Whether it's integration with the grid, whether it is, uh, trying to get into some sort of zero emission, trying to utilize waste, you name it, and sky's the limit. Sibu, there's no issue at all. And it's not only me, there are other staff members also working in this area.
So what I'll do
Okay.
for Steve, I love that you know how to pronounce the name, Professor Kalam. So specifically, I'm actually going to leave you a link in order for you to get in touch with either Professor Kalam. I think this is one of his favorite topics, so I'll give you his email address, and then you can personally mail him. Trust me, he will get back to you on email, and then you'll be able to ask any questions you might have regarding this topic. Who knows, you might even get him as a supervisor when you're doing your DEng program. but I will be sure to share those details with you. I'll send them on email. I see Emmanuel ask about scholarship. There are scholarships. I will provide the link before I close the session for you guys, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll be sure to leave them in the chat box. And then if you have any further questions outside of this
Uh,
current session,
Shipashu, there's a, non has got a question. I'm an honors level in power engineering. I got stuck on data analysis, how to move past that. Everyone gets stuck on data analysis, my friend. You have to try working with small projects before you can large grid problem. This is a issue of power systems, and I'm sure you are talking about a huge power systems. Try and use some sort of IEEE bus system, say 9 bus system rather than using 33 bus system or something like that. And you will find it is a lot easier. I mean, when I used to do this work, I used to use with 2 buses only and see whether it's working right, then kept on adding and adding, and then went to IEEE buses, various buses system. I hope I've answered your question, Nonku.
thank you so much,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen. You've made Professor Kalam very happy with your questions. He really does enjoy interacting with the people who attend our webinars. And of course, if you'd like to talk to him, he'll actually be a part of a virtual open week presenting regarding the Doctor of Engineering as well. So please join us and him next time in September when we do this webinar again. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to leave all the links. Professor, I will see you next month. That is for sure. And
And
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It was
and Chipeshwar,
lovely.
thank you very much. You have done a fantastic MC job, and for a change, we have not had any problem with my voice and my audio and other things. Thank you very much. Thanks all of you for attending.
I will
And
take it,
Chipeshwar, you are
Professor.
always, as usual, you are the best person. You are the best MC that we have. Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much, Professor Kalam. I'll take the good karma any day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.